you did the reading in John chapter 10, you would have seen that we're talking about sheep. And I have to admit, I'm a bit of a city girl, and before I moved to Stafford, I really didn't know anything at all about sheep. And I've learned two interesting things about sheep since I've been living in Stafford. So the first thing, I was on a walk with some friends of mine. We were out in the Peaks district, and I remember, but we were walking along, and someone was driving by in a truck, and they stopped and they said, "Oh, there's a dead sheep up ahead." I was traumatized by this news. But as we walked up there, one of my friends said, "Oh," she said, "No, it's okay. The sheep isn't dead. It's just fallen over." We get up there, and they're chatting to each other, and they're saying, "Oh no, we've got to help the sheep up." And I'm like, "What do you mean you have to help it up?" But what I learned is that actually, when a sheep falls over, and most of you will already know this because you're not as bad as me, but I didn't know that when a sheep falls over on its side, it can't actually get itself up again, and it would die if it stayed that way. It's so helpless that it needs this kind of rescue. And I thought, what a powerful image. And then actually just a few weeks ago, someone shared a photo on Facebook, and it was this picture of a sheep who had been hiding, gotten lost or hiding in a cave, and it had been there, lost from its shepherd for 6 years. And the photo of the sheep, it had all this fleece, wool, what do you call it? Anyway, the photo said that there was 60 pounds of fleece on this sheep, and it's normally a sheep would have about 10 pounds. And so the shepherd found it and shaved all and it just, the photo talked all this stuff about sheep, and I was so amazed. But I was just amazed that actually the sheep is so dependent on the shepherd for its very life. But even if its life isn't in danger, think about that sheep trying to walk around with all of that weight and all of that burden. And the only way for that sheep to get that off is to be with the shepherd, and actually to be with the shepherd quite regularly on a daily basis, that the shepherd cares for the sheep. These have been powerful learnings for me, and actually really, really helpful in reading John chapter 10. Maybe you're already thinking back through and you're wanting to skim through now that you've heard these stories, because it all makes so much more sense. That actually in John chapter 10, in verse 11, Jesus says, "I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep." It makes so much sense now, doesn't it, that Jesus calls himself a shepherd and we're the sheep. He wants us to be dependent on him. And actually, I find Jesus' words so reassuring here, because he tells us again and again. Did you notice in verse 10, he doesn't say, "I'm a shepherd." He says, "I'm a good shepherd." He wants us to understand that his intentions for us are good, that he loves us and he cares about us. If you kept reading in sentence 10, where he talks about that he has come that we might have life and have it to the fullest. Again and again, Jesus wants to assure us of his intentions, that he's come to give his life so that we can have life. And the response that he wants us to have in knowing that he's our shepherd is he wants us to listen to his voice. He wants us to follow him. You might have noticed at the beginning of chapter 10, in verses 3, 4, and 5, he talks about this. The gatekeeper opens the gate, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his sheep by name, and he leads them out. And when he's brought them out, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. The reason that we choose to listen to Jesus' voice, the reason that we choose to follow him, is not just because he says we have to, because we don't actually have to. We do so because we recognize his voice, we know who he is, and we know that he is a good shepherd, that his intentions for us are good, and that he's come to give his life for us so that we can have life. It's so encouraging to me today, and I have that picture in my mind with all that's happening around us of this sheep with 60 pounds of fleece, and I'm thinking, am I carrying an extra load that my shepherd never wanted me to carry? And do I need to just go back to him today and allow him to take that burden off of me, because I was never meant to carry that weight? Jesus is telling us that he's our good shepherd. How is it that you're going to respond to him today?